Right. It is 7:05, so we're going to get going. Thank you all for being here. This is a good turnout. We have 13. We probably will have more people joining us too. Yeah, it's weird times out there, but we are pressing ahead with youth soccer because we feel we can do it in a safe way. We've been encouraged to do it by the mayor, by parents, and the feedback we've gotten so far from in terms of kids' mental health and getting out there on the fields has been great. Comments like it's the most normal they've felt in 6 months, and it just reminds us that's why we're doing this. So this is what we have in store tonight. It's on the agenda. Hopefully we can get you in and out of here pretty quickly and let you get on with your nights. But this is what we're going to be covering tonight. There will be a Q&A at the end. We'll take any and all questions. We will virtually pet dogs. We'll do all that. Yeah, so again, apologies for not doing this earlier. Normally this is something we do during our field evaluations in June while your kids are out there on the field playing soccer. We talk to you, but sadly, COVID just continues to wreck everything, and it wrecked that, and then we didn't think about this until now. So yeah, this is why we're doing this. We think this fall is a pretty unique opportunity for grade 3 players. It lets us do things that we traditionally cannot do, like combine teams and practices. Like the B3, both B3 teams are on Capilano at the same time. There have been players shuttled between teams as need be. The girls are combined in one group. We had some lower numbers initially. Now they're up healthy. We'll talk about this later, but we can look at splitting. But it lets us be a little more dynamic and flexible with what we do. It's a really low stakes introduction to the 7v7 game. For those who don't know, when we talk about 7v7, we're going to explain why that's important. Because and it allows kids to learn that without the pressure of competitive games, and then there's no travel requirement here. So, it's all happening in Somerville. So that's why we think this fall, for any families here who are on the fence still about registering, we're trying to make a point of not trying to sell anyone on soccer, but this might be the one exception. I might take a look at this if you're not already registered as an opportunity for your kids. We're going to talk in a little bit about some potential future proposals for grade 3. This is kind of a preview of what that might look like with a more flexible fall season, if not a full grade 3 year. Anyway, so I think most of you on here played in town. This is what differentiates in town from travel. I'm not going to sit here and read all of it through. The big things are, as you've all noticed, it's an additional practice every week. It's a much bigger field. Capilano is literally 2 U8 fields, and it's 2 big U8 fields that if you ever played, we had that really rainy spring 2 years ago, and we were moving a bunch of games around. I don't know who remembers that. We ended up doing some Capilano games, and it was funny watching the kids grapple with just how big those U8 fields on half of Capilano really are. I mean, they're big. If you're used to playing on Winter Hill, your kids were winded after a game there. So yeah, Capilano is a big U10 field. It's almost a U12 field. So your kids' conditioning will very quickly they'll get whipped into shape conditioning wise. It's the emphasis you see there. In town, we want them really, when they get the ball, we want them dribbling at the goal. We want to just accentuate, individual play in town, and then you start introducing the team concept with travel. Rostering, we're gonna go through that. We roster by skill at travel. It's totally different. In town, we ask you, what coach would you like? What night would you practice on? Who do you want for teammates? And travel, you find out your coach, you find out your teammates, you find out your practice nights. So that's different. We'll get into why we do that. We're not just heartless sadists who love separating children from their friends. We promise. It's everything is done with the children's best interests in mind. The games, the kids will tell you they were competitive and they knew the score in town, but officially now, not so much this fall because it's all intramural, but when we do eventually maybe in the spring, hopefully, restart league play, then games are competitive, scores are kept. There are won-loss records, there are standings. It's, it's competitive soccer. As you, obviously we're playing other towns. It's called travel for a reason. We have certified officials here at this level. You all saw our awesome in-town refs calling the games in town. These are professional refs at the travel level. It doesn't stop coaches from complaining about blown calls, but it's a higher level of officiating. And then, as you all probably are aware, uniforms, totally different uniform. They have a blue home shirt, a red away shirt. Sometimes we wear it at home depending on the opposition. They're numbered. That's a requirement of the travel league. If you're wondering why blue and why red, a lot of teams in MISL wear blue, and it's important for us to have a second shirt. We found a very inexpensive way to do that. I think they're $9 and something. So yeah, we moved to that last year, and the kids actually seem to prefer the red shirts. We've had teams opt to play in red as their primary shirt. So as long as there's no, as the English would say, a clash of kits, you can wear, your team can decide to wear whichever color they want for travel. Any questions about intent? We're going to get into more detail on almost all this, but any very like high level questions? All right. 7v7. This is what your children have been learning. It's a very, very different game. In town, we tell them, go get the ball, right? We really value, I mean, work rate's always going to be something that's valued, but travel, all of a sudden, you don't want everyone chasing the ball. If everyone chases the ball on a giant field, it's gonna be chaos. It's not gonna be good for anyone. So, we still encourage players when they have the ball to see if they can move ahead, dribble ahead into space and attack the goal. But we start introducing passing, teamwork, concepts like that. We start doing some 2v1 drills at this level, teaching kids to make decisions about keeping the ball and dribbling and attacking versus laying it off to a teammate. And that we don't necessarily tell them, pass the ball. We don't want kids becoming too passive out there, becoming too deferential to teammates. On the girls' side, it's especially something that for those who remember Coach Ellie, she really did not want us talking to girls' teams at all about passing. She said she just noticed with her girls' teams, it's just a cultural thing. Girls tended to get too deferential if we told them to pass the ball. She preferred, and we agree with this, the idea of letting them kind of figure out when to pass and when not to on their own through some of these 2v1 drills. And yeah, it kind of takes care of itself. As we talked about, the field is double the size, so there's a lot of space to cover out there. We teach them the concept of, you'll hear us talk about, your coaches will talk about spacing a lot. Get wide, space out, take up the field when you have the ball, when you lose the ball, get compact. You'll hear about that a lot. And then teaching the kids these different positions. We play a 2-3-1 formation. That means 2 defenders, 3 midfielders, and 1 striker. And they will learn these positions very quickly. I'm speaking because I helped coach a grade 3 team last year. And it was maybe the most fun I've ever had coaching. Just a really enjoyable group of kids to work with. The coaches, the players, the parents were all really sad to see the season come to an end. And we were so, it made the spring cancellation that much more crushing because we were so looking forward to that spring season. Because the girls really took to it, understood positioning, the roles of the different positions and the responsibilities they had there. We continue to really push, and we preach this to our coaches at our preseason meetings, and you should be hearing this from coaches and seeing it reflected in their coaching. It's about the process. It's not about outcomes here, right? It's if you play really well and you lose, that's great. People are competitive, and it's better to win than to not win, but it's always about the process here. It's about getting better. It's about playing well. And we want to see coaches accentuating that in their messaging to kids and their focus. And finally, at every age, every child should play 50% plus. It's a policy all the way up through U14s. Playing time is not doled out based on skill level or anything else. It's absolutely 50% plus playing time. That is an ironclad belief of the organization. So your child, every game, should play at least 50% of the game. We try to instill a really strong, positive culture around our travel program in Somerville. And I feel like we do that. Some of the towns around us, when travel starts, if you haven't already experienced travel, you might see some of this. We generally have very positive culture from our spectators here. It's not the case everywhere. You see the sign that we have there. That's mostly for opposing towns coming to Somerville. We really want it to be, you know, just a really enjoyable experience for everyone involved, for the referees, for the coaches, for the players. And just a word about the referees. Like, we're gonna get to this in a second, but I can't stress this enough. Just don't talk to the referees. Don't comment on their calls. You know, I know you're gonna see some bad calls. Let it go. You know, the kids are paying attention. The referee can hear you. There's a reason why we have a shortage of officials in this country in all sports. It's because the culture toward referees is toxic. We just can't pay people enough to come referee games. The abuse they take, it's really unfortunate. So yeah, let's not be part of the problem. Let's be part of the solution here, and let's be positive toward our game officials. They are out there trying to get every call right. I guarantee you, I refereed last weekend. I really wanted to get every single call right. I'm sure I blew some, you know, and if I did, I felt terrible about it. You know, having someone comment about it would not have been helpful. So please, in town and travel, show the refs some love. So travel wise, we're asking families to really prioritize showing up, you know, RSVPing, so the coaches know who's going to be there, being there on time. You're going to see it's really important, especially once, you know, once we're playing travel games and there are referees and opposing sides involved. It's really important these games kick off when they're supposed to and with enough players. So please be there when the coach tells you to be there, dressed in the correct uniform with the correct shirt color with all the gear you need. We talked to, you know, cheering and not coaching. You know, the sign says it. You know, let the coaches coach. It's your job. Cheer on your kid. Tell them good job. You know, cheer them on. Don't tell them what to do out there. You know, let the coach do that. It's better for them to hear one voice give an instruction than multiple voices. And let me add this too. The car ride home. They have surveyed elite athletes about their favorite and least favorite parts of youth sports, and almost to a person, they mentioned the car ride home as being the worst part. Believe me, I used to do this with my kids until I took the positive coaching parent workshop. Just resist that urge to critique their game on the car ride home. After the game, things that should come out of your mouth should be things like, you know, you did great. I loved watching you play. Did you have fun out there? You know, just keep it positive and be your kid's biggest supporter. You know, let the coach will go over with them what needs to be gone over in terms of performance stuff. Let the coaches coach, have your kids back and cheer them on and make soccer fun for them, because criticism from a parent, you know, and coach parents can tell you this, it's that much harder for a kid to take. So, sportsmanship you see there. Don't interact with opposing players or coaches. Don't interact with the referees. And then finally, carpooling. We have a real carpooling culture here that is sadly on hold because of this whole global pandemic thing. Post-COVID, it will be important again. You know, be there for each other. Have a team culture that supports carpooling. There are people here with kids on multiple teams. You know, they may have games at the same. You know, I'm a single car household. There could be there's families with no cars. You know, be there and just support each other and help make it happen for the team. Any questions about culture? All right. So the coaching staffs, everyone we have is credentialed from a risk management point of view. They have to be. There are federal laws about this, that anyone who interacts with children, as you know, even in a volunteer capacity, they undergo a criminal background check. And there's a federal law that requires all our volunteers to go through the safe sport training. And let me tell you, it is extensive. It took me over 90 minutes to do that. They have to complete a concussion training course, and there's recertification required in both of those periodically. So yeah, it takes a lot just to be a volunteer. And we encourage our coaches to go and get certified, to take coaching courses. US Soccer offers some great ones. They have a grassroots course that used to be the E-license. Now they offer courses. They offer a 4v4 course that we encourage our in-town coaches to take. And then for the travel agents, they offer 7v7, 9v9, and 11v11 courses. We reimburse coaches the entire cost of taking this. I've taken these. They're helpful. The in-person ones, once we're allowed to do those again, are particularly good. So yeah, we really want to see our coaches get certified. We love it. We want to see a head coach who knows the game, who played it at a decently high level. You know, whether it's a parent, some of our parents did play at a high level, or we also love to go and plug in a community volunteer. Somerville gets a lot of recent college grads who played the game, who want to stay involved. And G3, you know, Liz is one of those people. She's great. She coached last season with us, and she's back coaching your daughters this season. She as you can see, and having someone that can demonstrate skills to the kids, it's priceless. And also the kids, you know, not to knock parent coaches, kids seem to be really good at tuning out parent voices. Having like a younger 20-something voice, there's something about it. They love that. I can't explain it really, but yeah, they really gravitate to like that younger community volunteer. And so we love, and they're like gold to us because we can plug them in anywhere. Parent coaches, we want to coach our kids, right? You get someone from the community that isn't shackled to a team like that, and we can plug them in wherever there's a need. And so, yeah, we really appreciate coaches like Liz who are willing to give up their time like that and work with the kids. Assistant coaches, we will look for people who know the game. I'm one of these people. I never played the game until I was 35. I'm from Iowa, where there's no organized youth soccer at all. So I started playing at 35, and it's not recommended. But yeah, assistant coaches, we look for people who can help teach the game and follow the head coach's lead. And then it's a goal for us that we have at least one female coach on every girls team. It's important. It's important for them to have a female voice in their ear, and it just and they like it too. Any questions about coaches? Oh, and let me add, we pay a not insignificant amount of money for a membership with the Positive Coaching Alliance, and they come in, well, during non-COVID times, to our preseason coaches meetings and do a whole 90-minute presentation to our coaches about different subjects. It's helpful. It's changed how I've coached. I've taken away a lot from what they've come in and talked about, and we'll continue to do that. It's a great resource for developing positive coaches. We want coaches who keep our kids enjoying the game and encourage them and build them up so that they keep playing, so there isn't a negative experience that ruins their enjoyment of the sport and drives them away. Uniforms, hopefully everyone's ordered theirs. There's some Challenger teamwear. Our beleaguered uniform provider apparently is completely overwhelmed by all the restart orders, so there are some delays. I'll apologize on behalf of them. Normally, and also the other part is, normally we know all this stuff in July and we can let families order way ahead of time, but just because of the late breaking nature of everything this year, we got you your uniform numbers way later than we typically would. Apologies for that. We did the best we could. But yeah, in the meantime, if they say to wear a blue shirt, wear a blue shirt. If they say to wear a red shirt, wear a red shirt. If you don't have either of those, please get in touch with me and we'll make sure you do. And if you're a sliding scale fee registration family, we will be in touch with you As soon as our bulk order comes in, we provide those uniforms to you for free, and we'll be in touch with that. As you see there, they have a blue primary shirt, a red alternate shirt, blue shorts, blue socks. When travel starts up, some referees are real sticklers about this. You know, I couldn't believe I saw it one time. They didn't let a Westford U10 kid play because he had the previous season's uniform on. And I thought that was about the most ridiculous thing I've seen in my years involved in youth soccer. But yeah, please wear the official thing. It's dumb, but it's, you know, it eliminates the possibility of something crazy like that happening. A note on uniform numbers. We used to do it. It was when I joined the board, I couldn't believe it. The poor uniform director at the time had to sort out all of these uniform number conflicts every fall when they made new rosters, because of course everyone picks, you know, low numbers, and it just ended up with it was an insane amount of work. So if you're wondering why your kid got, say, number 72, which is not a traditional soccer number at all, that's their unique number. They'll have that for the rest of their time playing with us. You'll never have to look up another travel. You don't have to wait for us to release it. That's their number. It's theirs. You can always reorder if they outgrow it. Just reorder it with the same number with confidence, knowing we won't ask you to have to order a new number, a new uniform with a new number. So that explains the weird numbers. Any questions about uniforms? Either we're answering every question you have before you thought of it, or you're all a very quiet bunch. There will be a Q&A at the end too. Fields. Oh, I could talk about fields for hours. I won't. Yeah, it's our field situation still not great, but the future is very bright. We have some fields coming online. If you've driven past Foss Park, you've seen that it's currently under construction. That's due to open around Thanksgiving time. It'll be too late for us in the fall, but we expect to lean heavily on that field in the springtime. And our field situation in the city is totally interconnected. Any new field helps everyone. We're all the youth sports and adult sports organizations are fighting over field space and time on the fields. And so even a new baseball, we're using Trump Field, as you know. So a new baseball park somewhere alleviates the crunch for fields. So yeah, you'll see us periodically appeal to parents to advocate, even if it's not a field that your kids currently play on. Just keep in mind that your advocacy could still help them indirectly because of that. Their home field for grade 3 and 4 is going to be Capuano. You've all been there probably. Capuano is so heavily used. We're really looking forward to hopefully the new high school field coming online at some point. It's in a little bit of limbo right now just because of budgetary issues. The city's entering some austerity mode here in the coming year because of COVID. We're hopeful that that stays in the plans for the new high school. When they get in a couple years, they'll be at Lincoln Park, the troubled grass field there that has it's been an adventure. And the forthcoming Healy Field, which we at this point expect to be online 2022. And then Dillboy's getting resurfaced. If your kids have been on there recently, you know it needs resurfacing, and then Foss Park when they get older. So our goal is to give every travel team one practice on turf and one on grass. The boys I know are on turf both times. You can thank your fields director for that one because he's one of the B3 coaches. But yeah, we like to see them get in one of each because one, it's fair. You don't have a team with 2 grass practices at risk of a double rain out in a week. And then also, especially when travel starts up, a lot of these suburban towns use grass fields. And it's a real disadvantage for our kids to be only used to playing on turf and then to suddenly find themselves playing on grass. It's a totally different game on grass. The ball travels much shorter distances than you think it's going to when you pass it. Dribbling, everything's very different on grass. The speed is different. So we want our players prepared for both surface types for games. Any fields questions? All right. MISL, Middlesex Youth Soccer League. For better or worse, it's our travel league. I'm on the MISL board, so I can talk poorly about them if I, without being accused. It's as you see there, MISL used to be huge, 40 some towns. It has shrunken considerably. It's down to 17 towns right now. There are reasons, good and bad, for that. The new board that they have in there seems better than previous ones. I will tell you, we are actively exploring. We've already inquired about joining Cambridge and Arlington and Winchester and who else? Lexington, Belmont, and joining Bays, the Boston area side. It's more of a South Shore league. The only issue with that is the commutes to games are potentially even worse for us. They go as far down as like South Attleboro. So instead, what we're looking into now, and this might be something, so this is my last term as president of Somerville Youth Soccer. And one of the things I want to work on is trying to create like an urban Boston soccer league. We find it frustrating sometimes dealing with these suburban and ex-urban towns. Everything from cultural issues, like these are very white towns that don't understand. I sat in a MISL meeting where they couldn't understand why we would allow a player to play with braids in their hair. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, did you all not pay attention to the lawsuit filed against the charter school in Malden about hairstyles for black students there? Like, it's, we're trying to be inclusive, and it's infuriating to see white towns oblivious to cultural issues like that. They're playing a different game up there in terms of registrations. We have a really transient population in Somerville. Our families register later. Their families are registered by June, so they want to push for earlier deadlines with travel rosters, and we always have to push back and say we get, a third of our registrations after we submit teams. So yeah, there's a clash between the urban and suburban and ex-urban towns in MISL, and I think we'd be better served in an urban Boston Soccer League with towns like us, who have similar demographics, similar challenges. So I'm talking to some leaders from other towns about whether they'd be interested in putting in the work to create something like this. I think it would pay off. But for now, this is who we play. The trips everyone loves to complain about, Westford especially, Chelmsford. We had a 9 a.m. in Chelmsford in the fall. It was not fun. Just be glad Drake it's gone. It was the farthest trip, and they had the most toxic parents of any. Basically, the farther north you go, the worse the parents get. Wait, this meeting's being recorded. I didn't say that. Yeah, we don't miss Drake it. But that's what the towns in green are the ones that we play. I push hard at the MISL level, especially for the younger ages, to keep divisions and subdivisions geographic based. I really don't see the need for us to be going past Wilmington for games, to be honest. And they don't want to come down here either. We have 8 a.m. starts here during full travel. And we try to keep Westford and Chelmsford from getting an 8 a.m. kickoff down here because they need to leave home really early for that. Soccer Without Borders is in East Boston, and Charlestown is obviously part of Boston. Those are Suffolk County technically, so not in Middlesex County, but we let them play anyway. Any questions about the towns that comprise MISL? All right, in terms of what MISL is like, expect to play about half your games at Capuano and half your games in opposing towns. This is in normal circumstances, not COVID times. They go Division 1 to 5. We will typically put our top B3 and G3 team in Division 3. That's what my team did last year. And then we will look to have teams ideally in Divisions 4 and 5 so we can roster all those skill levels. We separate our teams by grade 3 and grade 4 teams. It's really more experienced travel and new to travel teams because we have some players who did play up last year. But a lot of towns make no effort to separate them. And so and Meisel does not put grade 3 teams in a different division from grade 4 teams. So as luck has it, sometimes you end up playing a lot of grade 4 teams. That happened to my girls last fall. It was a rough start. We played a bunch of experience. We played a Wilmington team that was a bunch of fourth graders. They were huge. We lost 6-1, week, early in the season. It happens. But yeah, we're trying to push for improvement for Meisel in that respect. Fall season, typically September, November, spring, April, late June. In the spring season, there's a postseason. For grades 3 and 4, they're too young for the M-Talk. It's a second weekend, so they do a Commissioner's Cup event for them. Officially, there's no winner. No standings are kept, but it's 3 games out in Lancaster at the Mass Youth Soccer facility out there. It's a lot of fun. The team that you see there, I think Ben is in there. Ben, is that it? Ben's in there. That was our top grade 3 boys team last year that went to Commissioner's Cup. Had a great experience there, I think. Oh, anything on typical travel league structure? If you're wondering what a typical away game morning is like, let's say you have a 9 o'clock kickoff, this is what it would look like. Assume 30 minutes for travel, getting there 30 minutes early to group as a team and warm up. An hour for a game, 30 minutes for a post-game talk, pack up, get to the car. You're talking about 3 hours out of your day probably for an away game. I feel like that's typically what it was. It doesn't count stopping off for ice cream or lunch or whatever you end up doing. Any questions about a morning of travel? All right, this is the one I get the most questions about, and I understandably. So we roster by skill at this age, and the reason we do that is to really try to make sure that every player is playing alongside teammates of similar skill and against opponents of similar skill. The reason for that is we know for a fact that players develop the best and have the best time when they're appropriately challenged. If you take a player and put them in at a level where they're in over their head, they're going to get discouraged. They're going to get down on themselves. They'll probably stop playing soccer. You take a player and you put them on a team where they're head and shoulders above everyone else skill-wise, they're not going to improve. They're going to develop bad habits. It's going to develop bad habits of the other players who are going to watch them. It does not work. And that's why it's so important that we get these kids in the right spot for them where they can excel and really enjoy their experience and develop as players. So what we do is then every summer, well, except for this one, we sit down and we go over the evaluation data that we have. And then we try to figure out where's the best spot for every kid. We try to keep it objective. Back in the day, there were, groups and committees that met and coaches had a lot of sway. And, we found that coaches who wanted to like to keep their teams intact, and it wasn't always good for player development because players develop at different rates. And you can end up with a situation where a group of players gets kept intact and you can see a real divergence of their skill levels, and it's great socially, right? It's the same group together, but it creates just a host of other problems. And so, in order to ensure that new players are also placed properly, we treat every summer like it's tabula rasa. It's a total fresh start. We don't even want to know what team they were on the previous season. We want to give every kid a chance to, look at them with a fresh set of eyes in terms of the evaluation data, and make sure that we are getting a good snapshot of where they're at right then and get them in the right spot for the coming season. Then we like to minimize roster changes over the winter. We call it a club year, the fall and spring seasons together. We like to have some continuity in there so that the coaches can get to know the players, they can get to know each other, they can pick up in the spring season where they left off in the fall. And we really only try to fix just really clearly misrostered players. we'll address that in the winter. Honestly, it's in the single digits total, the number of changes that we make, and sometimes it's under 5. We really try to leave things alone over the winter time. Any questions about roster? We're going to talk about evaluation data in a second because you're probably wondering about that. But any questions about the actual process of rostering, why we do it, anything like that? Wow, you're all exceptionally quiet. Usually, this is the point in person where I start getting yelled at by parents, which is really funny. Then when they join the board, and then I get CC'd on emails for them explaining to parents why they can't put their kid with their friend. Anyway, in terms of the evaluation data that we use, typically it's a three-part system. We're joined on the call by our player development director, Gregory Jenks, and I could not be more pleased with the work that he's come in and done. We had his predecessor was excellent too, Chris Love. These are data-driven folks who know the game, love the game, and are just driven to do right by the kids and make sure that our data reflects reality as best it can. And that, I know Greg hates me saying that, but he'll say, who's reality? Greg, you want to say anything about any of this? Is he on the call? There's Greg.
Hey, everyone. Yeah, I'm here. Thanks, Jake, and thank you all for everything you're doing for the kids. I'm happy to go to whatever level of detail folks would like. This has been an unusual year because of COVID. We weren't able to do our usual field evaluations and our in-season evaluations. So this particular rostering session, we have relied heavily on the coaches' evaluations, but that's obviously not the norm for us. The coaches' evaluations are very thorough. We expect each coach to probably spend at least an hour plus, in Jake's case, at least a day plus, in my case, at least 2 days plus, kind of going through every player. We have a number of categories, technical categories, athletic categories, understanding of the game. We do also kind of check in on kids' engagement and behavior. And we get scores across that. And then we also ask the coaches to kind of, who are your best offensive players, attacking players, who are your best defensive players, and then provide kind of written notes on each of the players. All of that gets collated and aggregated. And then we all come together. I'm involved. Jake is usually involved. The age director for the appropriate team is normally involved, and the travel director is involved. And we're looking at those numbers and trying to make really good decisions. So the idea here is to do right by every kid, and we give it our best shot. We're not perfect. We do make mistakes. We try to correct those when we can. But I can assure everybody that it's really an honest effort, and the idea is to put every kid in a position where they can be successful, but where they can also be challenged and grow, and then we'll reevaluate again next year.
Well said. Any questions from anyone about player evaluation data? And you see that down at the bottom, if you ever wonder why your kid ended up on a particular team, we will happily share your player's evaluation data with you. I did that literally last week. Greg was on the email, we're trying to strip away secrecy, any mistrust that's out there. We want to be as transparent as possible. We can't share all the kids' data with you. What we'll do is we can block out names and on the coach which we did on the coach evaluations for the other kids, and share that. So the goal is to have everyone on the same page and understanding why decisions are being made. Anything? Wow. Either we are explaining this. All right. All right. So I want to talk about teams and gender.
I think the Patriots kick off at 8:20, Jake. So that.
All right. We want to have everyone out of here. We're near the end. We're near the end. But you'll notice that I got something to go to tonight anyway. You notice registration looked a little different. We didn't ask gender, we asked gender identity this year. And it's important that it was important for us to switch to that. You know, we have, you see down at the bottom, we have trans kids, we have gender fluid kids, we have non-binary kids playing soccer with us right now. I know them, I've coached them, you know, like it's important to be welcoming to everyone. You know, the board discussed this, and we feel that this is an absolute no-brainer. It makes things so much easier on everyone. We just ask gender, and whatever a parent tells us, that's their gender identity as far as we're concerned. You know, we don't collect birth certificates. We're not asking questions about, you know, birth at gender or gender at birth at all. You know, and if a player identifies as a girl, they can play on boys teams if they want. They can play on girls teams. MySoul allows co-ed teams. They play in boys divisions. Co-ed teams are allowed. Yeah, the goal is just to be as absolutely welcoming to everyone as we can. Any questions about teams and gender? All right, so this is the part you're probably all waiting to hear about, where we go from here this fall. So we are looking to schedule friendlies in October. Some of our teams are already playing them for families who want to take part in that. It's an opt-in process. We want no one to feel pressured to take part in that. We will find weekly games for your child if you don't want them playing if their team is playing a travel friendly and you've opted out, that is completely fine. We'll find a good game for them that makes sense for them, for their skill level. They will have fun. You know, this is not, everyone's in a different place on this. Emotionally, everyone's in a different place in terms of underlying conditions in their household. And we just want to be as respectful of that as possible. So on the B3 side, we had 3 teams. We merged down to 2 for numbers reasons. It seems to be working out fairly well. If we were to get, I think we just hit our capacity for 2 teams, and we're starting to wait list. If we were to see a big explosion of grade 3 registrations and enough coaches to where we could confidently go back to a 3rd team, it sounds chaotic, but we would look into that. I apologize if you're feeling whiplash from changing practice schedules at all. The parents who originally were on the team with, I think, Monday and Thursday practice times, apologies. Yeah, it's rough to have your schedule changed around like that, and we completely empathize. It's driven by just trying to do what's best for the kids, and yeah, we'll take a wait and see attitude on possibly going back to 3 teams with B3. But they will start playing B4 teams. They've been playing each other the first 2 weeks. They've practiced and scrimmaged together. They did their preseason. They're ready to start playing B4 teams, it sounds like, from talking to their coaches. And we're going to start doing that this weekend. So on the G3 side, you've all been combined into one group. There's a split coming. We're going to talk to the coaches. We'll find out what makes the most sense. And the question will be what we do with practice nights for the G3 red team. G3, we're going to have Liz take G3 blue, and we know they're going to be the current Tuesday and Thursday times. G3 red, at least one of the nights will change. We might we don't like doing back-to-back practice nights, but it might be Thursday and Friday, just because we don't want to change both practice nights on you. We realize, like, this far into the season, that could be really disruptive. We just started school, like that's crazy, you know. So in order to minimize disruption, we might do Thursday and Friday night practices for G3 red. And then after the split, we will start to do games with G4 teams. I know the G3 combined team did do a game with G4 white. It's a lot of kids. You'll be playing a more conventional game with G4 teams after the split. All right, there've got to be questions about this. Any questions about fall plans for V3 and G3?
What's the maximum number of people allowed on a team? You said that that players are being waitlisted right now?
So I think we just had one that we hit capacity with the registration today. We don't like to go, 13 is really where we like to set the max. 14 is our absolute max. Cause once you hit, with 13, you can have a goalkeeper and the other 6, you can do 6 and 6, right? And work, and it's easy. The numbers wise, it works. 14, you can still do 50%. That's literally 50% playing time for every player right there. As soon as you hit 15, we are failing in our mission of 50% plus playing time mathematically. It's just not possible. So, sorry, long answer to your question. 14 is the absolute max. 13 is our ideal max. And our ideal size really is probably 11 players right now. So 9 is our absolute minimum. 10, we like them between 10 and 12 is our preferred size for a 7v7 team. Good question though.
Jake, about friendlies, the only reason we've been sort of hesitant to raise our hand is the restriction on carpooling, and we're a 1-car family. And
Oh, I know.
So I guess my question is like, can we be, I don't want to make it the job already harder for coaches when they're trying to figure out how many players they have that can be there. But for us, it's honestly going to come down to schedules on the weekends, like where the game is and when the other child's game is.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I'll tell you, we're looking to just start with friendlies here in town, like home games. All the friendlies so far, all the ones coming this weekend, we have not scheduled a single away friendly. And I feel a little selfish doing that, because like the question is like, oh, would you be interested in like a home and home, like playing and the answer was maybe later in the season. It's just, I feel like it's too much. It's a little bit of a, some families are just iffy about going to another town to play a game right now. And so we just felt like, it would be easiest for us if we stuck with home friendlies for now.
But Jake, we can go week by week, right? If a family can make it work this week, that's great. If you can't make it work,
oh
this
yeah,
week,
absolutely. You can opt in for home friendly, and it could be like, if it turns out that there's a conflict, you could just say, you're allowed to just be like, hey, we can't make that one. It's okay. We're going for just maximum flexibility, and that's why I know it's frustrating to not have the full schedule right away up there. We're just juggling things like, the combined G3 teams and the split coming, B3 being ready. We're taking it week by week, and we have a lot more flexibility to get good matchups and to have good Saturday experiences. Sort of taking it a little bit of time. We're going to start to do like a week or two out. You'll see, like I'm working on the Saturday schedule, and you'll see that, we're going to give you a little more advance notice. It was better this week. It's going to be even better next week. And hopefully pretty soon we're getting you, 2 or 3 weeks out.
Jake, I have a question.
What's up?
Is there any relationship between the G3 blue or G3 red and then who does the travel games versus being at home, or it's just you can decide which one you wanted to go to?
You could, no. The blue and red thing is going to be purely down to where the coaches feel the skill level is. For games, we'll do a G3 travel and a G3 intramural for games.
Okay, and then
so you'll see 2 teams in Sports Engine, and one will be for practices and one will be for games. I know it's a little confusing, but we feel like that's the way we can. It maximizes flexibility and allows us to basically give as many families what they want as possible.
Okay, and you said that the blue team, the girls blue, would probably remain with Tuesday, Thursday, and then the other team might be Thursday, Friday?
That's my best guess. The back-to-back practices we did it last year. It's not that bad, but it sets up 3 days in a row of soccer.
Yeah.
It concentrates it on 3 days, so it's suboptimal in that way. But it might, and we could talk to parents. Maybe we talk to parents and say like, all right, what do you want to do? Maybe we could do Monday. We're limited a little by Capuano time. That's the big one. We want to it's their home field. We want to make sure that they have time on Capuano. It's turf, so we can use it even when grass fields are closed. Capuano really is, we lean heavily on that field. So it's a little complicated, but maybe we'll talk to parents and try to get a quick consensus on from parents of, you know, if they're okay with Thursday, Friday, Saturday soccer for their kids.
Okay, thanks.
I guess on the other hand, you've taken care of your soccer in one like 48-hour chunk.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it depends how you feel about condensing soccer.
Jake, I have a question related to that. When they split up the teams, currently the practice schedule is working out really well for us. We're also a single car family.
Mhm.
If our soccer player gets changed over to the other team and all of a sudden the practice schedule is not as conducive to our schedule and we wouldn't be able to make the practices, is there an option to swap back to the other team? Are there options like that that would work better with certain families?
So officially, we don't move people around for practice things, but there's a big exception to this. We do have a policy. We want every player practicing at least once a week with their team. Then if there is an adjacent team, which in this case would be the other group, and this goes for blue players, if Tuesday and Thursday is not working for you, it goes both ways. That we allow the option of attending a second practice with an adjacent level team, if that works for you to get your second practice in.
Gotcha.
Assuming numbers, you know, assuming the other coach is okay with it and the numbers work and everything. But yeah, I'll tell you the G4 team that Greg and I are coaching. There's a team, the team below us. We have a player that comes and plays up with us and practices with us on Thursdays because she can't make her Friday practices because she does TSL. So, and we have a player that we were looking at potentially sending to them on Fridays. 2 practices a week is really the key thing. They'll get that much better, especially learning with all the info that's being thrown at them right now.
Right.
So yeah, there's some flexibility in that sense, less with rostering, more with which practices they can go to. Does that help?
Gotcha. Yep. Thank you.
Yep.
Jake, I had a quick question.
Yeah.
If you could make both the intramural and the travel game on Saturday, and so there is no time conflict, would you be able to do both?
As long as we aren't putting too many girls on the sideline for that, because we got to keep, for playing time reasons, we want to keep it fairly in check. But especially, I mean, if we right now we're at rosters of 11, that's good, right? But all it takes is a couple of absences, and all of a sudden you're looking at low numbers. And so, yeah, I guarantee calls will go out to the other team, basically saying like, hey, we need some more bodies on Saturday. Is anyone interested in playing a second game? Both ways, they'll go out. I guarantee.
Awesome. Thanks, Jake.
We're about to do that with our G4 blue team. There's the G4 red team has, and Greg has pointed out, the color thing. We used to give them numbers, and we found that like it was very easy for kids to be like, oh, you're on the number 2 team, I'm on the, you know. So we've gone with the color system, which, I mean, if they spend enough time, they can decode it. But it makes it that much. There's a layer in there of obfuscation that you know, it makes it a little. It's a bigger issue when they hit the tween and teen years. Apparently, we've heard stories about some Mean Girls style lunch table exclusions that happen. So the goal is to just make it, you know, just reduce that as much as possible. So yeah.
I have a somewhat related question, given now you're talking about moving kids around between teams and different groups. How are you going to handle a player testing positive for COVID?
Oh, yeah. I mean, God forbid it happens, but if it does happen, then we have a whole plan in place. Basically, it gets reported immediately to us, we have a COVID safety officer. We report it to Somerville's Board of Public Health, and it kicks off a whole thing involving contact tracing, involving basically that there would be quarantining involved or testing. And basically, for us, the Department of Public Health, once we report to them, they tell us what to do. They do the investigate. We don't do the contact tracing. That's a public health that handles that. And then we basically just follow, there's a whole protocol that we follow in terms of when it's okay to resume.
Similar for parents of players testing positive, would that trigger the same alerting? And it would be knowing which practice which kid had been at and making sure everybody's okay.
Yep. And so I'll tell you, we had a case just that came to us where a parent had tested positive for COVID on an older team. The player stayed at home correctly. You know, they were not symptomatic, they never tested positive, but they did stay at home. And after the parent was cleared, then the child was able to come back and play soccer. So yeah, we are asking, you know, I can't stress this enough, like just, you know, safeguard our community's health. Like, you know, don't, you know, if you're experiencing symptoms, definitely if you test positive, if anyone in your family tests positive, stay home. You know, don't, it's not the time to be showing up with the sniffles or, you know, or anything else. Like if in doubt, stay home.
Hey Jake, it's a sweet. I have a question just going on the COVID. So yesterday I had the fun job of the COVID prevention coordinator for my older daughter's team, and they were, well, I don't want that job anymore.
Oh, no.
But they were playing at Capuano, and you know, at Dilboy it's easy because
yes, I know where you're going.
Yeah, and so I will just say, like, it was hard to tell, like, who was a parent and who was not. And I just, you know, if people would look like they were watching the game and they didn't have a mask on or they had it under their chin, I just asked them to put it on, and I got a lot of sass.
Really?
And, yeah, I got sass from parents as well. And so,
parents of Somerville youth soccer players? Oh, yeah. Oh, you have what? You have a mask denier on that team, don't you?
I don't know, but I just,
yes,
you know,
I heard about this. Let's talk offline about that. But yeah, I'm sorry. No one should be giving you any pushback at all. I mean, come on. At this point, like, they need to wear masks. Like,
yeah,
I'm sorry that happened. If it happens again, call me up and I'll come talk to people. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Well, that's not what I mean. But I think the other thing is what's difficult around Capuano is that, you know, there are a lot of people there sometimes on the field who don't have masks on that are not related to the team. And so I don't know if you are able to talk to the city about that or,
we have. So and it's funny, I was just talking to a parent and to coaching staff about this today. We practice at Capuano. I deal with that every Monday and Tuesday night personally. I'll tell you, so the background is when we talked to the city about this, we said, okay, what about all these interlopers at Capuano? And their response was, well, yeah, you know, if someone refuses to leave, they're trespassing, you should call the police. And we were like, yeah, we're not going to call the police on predominantly kids of color right now. Like, we're going to take a hard pass on that one. And so it just kind of ultimately then we're kind of left in the lurch because we can't go to like the nuclear option with it. So I'll tell you, my approach is at the start of practice, I go over and I say, hey, officially we need you to leave. You know, East Somerville Field is open after 6:30 every night for you to go use. Nobody should be there. We're not using it. We have it permitted. We're not using it. You know, it's 3 blocks away. Why don't you go use it? Inevitably sometimes they leave, sometimes they stay. If they stay, I keep an eye on them, and then at some point I will go back over and just make sure they're wearing masks. Like, as long as they're staying off the field, if they're wearing masks, I let it go. I don't harass them a second time. If they're not wearing masks, then it becomes a conversation where I'm saying, you know, hey, you're not supposed to be here. You definitely can't be here if you're not going to wear a mask. Like, you're breaking the law at this point. You know, there's a city ordinance. There are signs up at Capuano. You cannot be there not wearing a mask. It's just, you know, there are regulations about this. And that usually works.
I just wonder if one thing that we could do is, you know, I work for Mass General Hospital, so I always carry extra masks in my bag, and I ended up giving some out.
Oh yeah, ask if they need a mask. That's our coaches all should have masks in their COVID kits. And this is another thing. We are, as Lucy could tell you, our bulk order of athletic masks just came in, and today a group of volunteers came over on my back deck, and we sorted and packed up in groups of 3 masks to go out to coaches for themselves and for some extras for players. And then we're giving them out free of charge to our sliding scale fee families, just to make sure that everyone has a good athletic mask. So yeah, coaches will have, we don't want to give these away to, to interlopers at Capuano, but they should have disposable masks that they can give to anyone. Absolutely. As a COVID coordinator, your coach should have that for you.
Yeah, hey Jake, just on that note, I actually reached out to the superintendent and the director of the parks and fields in the city and my alderman as well.
Mhm.
And I feel like there's very little signage up, right? And there's no enforcement in the city at all. So I feel like as many of us that can reach out to our aldermen and the folks, the more times they hear this type of stuff, then, and I expressively said, yes, this is not a police issue whatsoever, but it is a question of, there are cities that have these things and are kind of handling it well in terms of signage and having ambassadors out there passing out masks and all that. And it's not something that sits squarely on, the league's shoulders. I think it's all of us as citizens to kind of reach out to the city as well.
Yeah. This is one of the things that just really bothers me, because it's, here we are trying to be like, the conversation today was basically like, perfection is the goal. It's not the expectation. It's not a reasonable goal even, but like, we really are going for like, I'm sort of a perfectionist and I would love to just have all the I's dotted and T's crossed, but the Capuano thing is just, it's one of the more troubling ones. And, which is why I take the view that I do, that is, if they're staying off the field, the painted field, right? The striped field, and they're wearing masks, and they're respectful, and their ball isn't ending up in our field during our practice, I tend to let it go. It's not ideal, but I'm not going to die on that hill, basically. But if they're not wearing a mask, then we have a problem. Does that make sense to people? I know, Greg, the Patriots game is starting. Anything else on the 20? We're going to let you just really quickly. The board's been talking about the idea of making grade 3 a transitional year, or maybe the fall season a transitional season, where we don't enter grade 3 teams in MISL, and instead let them do sort of what they're doing this fall. We're actually getting to kind of try this out, where they're learning 7v7 game, very low stakes, without the pressure of these competitive league games. And then the other thing that we keep talking about, and I would love to figure out a way to do, is create a recreational program. We need more fields for this, and so it's probably something that's going to have to happen down the line. But the idea of a non-travel option once you hit grade 3 for kids who want to keep playing soccer, but who aren't, families don't want to commit to 2 practices a week and games, up in, Lowell. So it would be an opt-in. We would not do cuts. We don't ever do cuts to travel. Any kid who wants to play travel, we have a spot for them on a travel team. Some towns do, travel, they do cuts. You do tryout. We don't do tryouts. We do field evaluations. It's not a euphemism. It's we call them that for a reason. Like, you're not trying out for a team. You're going to make a team. But yeah, this would be an opt-in during registration, and the goal is just to keep more kids playing soccer. Any questions on those? All right. Any other questions about anything else we covered?
Will this recording be shared at all with parents who couldn't make it, or?
Yeah, not with Drake it though.
Yeah, not with Drake.
Don't share it with Drake it. Yeah, it's there's a cloud recording of this that we'll send out to the parents who couldn't make it. Or if you want to go relive the excitement of an hour of your life you'll never get back. Yeah. Any other questions? All right. If you think of one, you know how to get in touch. Email me, call me. My number's in the email that went out to everyone. Yeah, we're trying to make this as user-friendly as possible for parents. So thank you for. Yeah, you can contact me. This is contact info for the other people on there. I did not include Greg on there. He's usually second level if things get escalated to him with questions about evaluations. But these are your, sorry, it should be grade 3 and 4 age coordinator. I don't know why I typed director. I don't know if any of them are on the call. I don't see any of them on the call, but yeah, we're really happy that you all felt confident in us and our protocols to trust us with letting your kids play soccer with us during a pandemic. We think that it is a very, very low risk proposition relative to some of the other things out there. And we're going to prioritize keeping your kids safe and keeping our community's health intact. So thanks for attending. Do all those things on there, please. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you all at Capuano.